Hey folks, thanks for tuning in for another video. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Gerber Shard, which you see before you right now. This is not how it comes from the factory. When you buy one of these, it does not have this paracord on here. This is just a little embellishment that I did myself. Trying to make it a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more interesting, so I just wrapped some paracord on there. But when you get it, it won't have it. And hopefully at this point in the video, I'll be rolling in some footage of a stock Gerber Shard, so you can kind of see what it should look like without the paracord on it. But I do like that paracord on there. It makes it a little bit chunkier, a little bit easier to grip from the edges. So something you might consider yourself if you have a shard or considering purchasing one. Let me jump right into this here. There's a couple variations, or I should say there's two variations of the Shard, and in fact they don't both go by the same name, but Gerber makes the Shard here, and then they sell another product which I do not own, which is called the Gerber Artifact. That is almost identical to the Shard, except it's a little bit longer, and it includes one more tool, which is a replaceable, they call it a hobby blade. So it's very similar to your average X-Acto knife that you see around, a little replaceable blade that goes on this end of the tool, and you can kind of switch the blade out so that you can cut with it. It's something that as a card-carrying knife enthusiast, and I imagine a lot of you watching this review are the same, I have no need for the blade, and it's just one more thing to break, or that might need to be replaced, or might cut you in your pocket or something. So I didn't bother for that one. I'm just sticking for the single piece of steel here in the Gerber Shard, and I do rather like this tool. It cost me about $6. I've had it for a little less than 2 months. I bought it from Amazon.com. Like I said, for just under $6, and that was including shipping. So pretty inexpensive. I've seen these cost as much as $10, and you can probably find this tool locally. I think you might sometimes find them at Walmart or Target. Pretty much any place that you can probably find the other common Gerber tools and knives. The included tools on here. Now, Gerber says that there are 7 functions. I'll let you decide. I think there's 6, and one is just kind of what it is. But the tools are 2 flathead or slotted drivers at the end there. You also have a Phillips driver at the opposite end, a mini pry bar, which is comprised of the 2 aforementioned slotted drivers there. You also have a bottle opener right here, and then finally, according to Gerber, the last tool or function is the lanyard hole. So that's just to put on your keys or to attach a small lanyard. Not so much a tool or even a function, but I guess it is. It's the one little extra thing. So 6 tools and a lanyard hole or keychain hole. Tool thickness is just under 3 millimeters. So pretty thin, but quite stout. This thing isn't going anywhere, and I doubt you'll ever break it. So that's just about, just under 1/8 of an inch. Overall length is 2 3/4 of an inch. And weight is 0.6 ounces, and that rings pretty true on my scale. I think that's what Gerber says in their specs. So pretty light, pretty insignificant weight-wise. Material is stainless steel of an unknown type, so I can't tell you what type of steel that is, but Gerber does say it is stainless steel. And you can see it does have this coating, so it's got sort of a black coating on there. This does have texturing on it, and I have mine wrapped here, but you can probably see it's got some sort of pseudo jimping on either edge. You can see some there by the lanyard hole, and then some here on this end. And that doesn't really do too much of anything. I think it's more just for some sort of styling, just for looks. But it does have it for those of you who might at all be curious. And speaking of jimping, let me mention the comfort overall of the Shard is actually pretty good. There's not too many misses wrong with it, but there are a couple small issues. The Phillips driver is rather pointy, and it might poke your hand when you're using it to pry or to scrape. Now, as a right-handed individual, I tend to hold the tool this way when prying, or this way when scraping, and so when it's flipped around, it can kind of dig into your hand. But unless you're being really aggressive with it, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Obviously, if you're left-handed and you were kind of prying up with it this way, it might also poke the palm of your hand in that manner. But again, I don't think it's really going to be a big deal for most people, just throwing it out there. It carries very easily in your pants or pocket. It attaches to your keys, obviously very quickly, large lanyard hole, so you can connect it to just about anything. But because the ends are kind of pointy, when you draw it up out of your pocket, when I've got this on my keys and I pull my keys up out of my pocket, that pointy end a couple times has snagged on my pocket. Now I haven't suffered any damage on my pants from that, and it hasn't actually stabbed me to the point that it was drawing blood or anything. But you know, that might tear up your pockets over time. You know, there's a lot of little points and sharp ends on here that you know, I can sit here and poke them with my thumb and it's not going to kill me or anything. But you know, over time that may wear out your pockets, so that is something to consider. But in the almost 2 months that I've had it, it hasn't really been a problem. Overall strength, obviously, with a small piece of steel of this size, is pretty much excellent. You know, short of purposely going out of your way to destroy it, the thing is virtually indestructible. Overall performance is great. I find that all the tools work fine, and they work about as good as you can expect from a pocket tool of this size and design. So, you know, keep your expectations realistic and in line with what you're looking at here, and I don't think you're going to run into any problems. You know, it pries out staples, tacks, pulls open, you know, cans, soda tabs, all that stuff just fine. The drivers aren't going to let you get a lot of torque because of the length of the shard, but they'll get the job done, and especially in a pinch, if you don't have anything else, you know, having something like the shard is always better than nothing. Finish is pretty good overall. That black coating on the outside has started to wear on the driver or pry end, as you can see. I use this for scraping mostly, as I do with most of my pry tools, so that's why that one has some wear on there. But for 2 months use and being banged around on my keys, not too shabby. You know, overall I'd say it's pretty nice. So I'll give it a thumbs up in the fit and finish department. You know, it's ground nicely, and it has a nice smooth finish. Other than the pointy ends, as we discussed, there are no rough spots. And I've used it for all the typical stuff that I tend to use all these small little prying tools for, mostly scraping stuff like I mentioned. I've opened a couple bottles with it, which it performs perfectly at, so if you need a bottle opener on your keys, it'll work great. I've used all the drivers, and they all work okay. I've used it to, you know, pop a few staples off here and there from some boxes at work, and the Phillips head actually works pretty decent as a box opener. So, you know, that sort of double-edged sword, no pun intended, of that pointed tip means that you can just kind of pop that right down to the tape and drag it across the box. So that works well. I think this thing looks like a weird little seal or some little creature, doesn't it? Kind of like a bird or something. Anyway, getting off track. You know, generally available everywhere. Like I mentioned, the price will run you anywhere from $5 to $10. You might pay tax, you might pay shipping, depending on where you buy it from. But overall, you know, entirely inexpensive. So typically for me, I tend to carry these small little tools on my keys, but I also tend to carry a medium or a small size multi-tool, something like the Leatherman Squirt that you see here. So I don't really need drivers of any kind or even a bottle opener on my little pocket tool. So I mainly use mine for a pry bar. So because of that, I tend to go for something like the EOD Robotics Micro Widgie or the Leatherman Bruiser. But that is not to say that the Gerber Shard isn't an excellent, you know, one piece or single piece of steel pocket tool, because it is. I think that overall it's pretty nice. I tend to carry those other two because, again, I don't need all the extra tools, so I want something a little bit slimmer and a little bit more basic. And you can see that the Shard is a little bit wider than the other two. But if I didn't have those other two as an option, or even if I did, you know, I would still carry the Shard, and I do intend to carry it some more in the future. I carried it a lot, and also exclusively while I was reviewing it, you know, while I was wanting to carry it around and see how it worked out. But I'll still pop it on my keys in the future. I think it's pretty neat. And for, you know, average $6 to $7, you just absolutely, you can't go wrong with it. So, you know, just some final thoughts. It works well. The thing's going to last pretty much for forever, and you're going to be able to buy it for next to nothing. This would also make a really good gift if you wanted to kind of give these out. Just a really inexpensive gift to give out to friends and family. And you know how I am. If you can keep a tool on you that's going to keep you from prying or damaging your knife blade, you know, for stuff other than cutting, I think that everybody should have a little tool like this on their keys because it's so small and so convenient. So if you can look past those small issues that I mentioned as far as, you know, overall comfort and, you know, it getting caught in your pocket on occasion, if some of you folks carry your keys outside of your pocket and just hang them from your belt loop, you won't even have an issue with any of those. So keep that in mind. But if none of those are an issue for you, you'll do just fine with the Shard, and I think you'll really like it. I'm going to back up just a little bit real quick and throw in some of these other tools just to give you a size comparison. There's the Shard next to the Leatherman Squirt P4, and here's the the Victorinox Swiss Army Classic, and also a little tube of Blistex lip balm there, so you can kind of see how that fits in your pocket and with some of your other stuff. Small, convenient, inexpensive. If you don't already have another pry bar and this one's kind of piqued your curiosity, don't even hesitate. Just go grab one, throw it on your keys, and be glad that you did. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.